operative word is predictable. Reserve planning is all about minimizing your surprises. But what exactly does that mean, and why should you care? Well, first, let me take a moment to introduce myself so you can trust that I know what I'm talking about. By training and background, I'm a licensed professional engineer and reserve specialist. My reserve specialist designation was earned in connection with the over 45,000 reserve studies we've prepared for residential, resort, municipal, worship, and other types of properties throughout the United States. Reserve studies are extremely important in the world of association governed communities, where the long-term fate of a homeowner's investment is hitched to the wise decisions or foolish whims of a volunteer board of directors. As a result, most states require some form of reserve planning to maintain property values and reserve disclosures to protect home buyers. So whether it's called a capital replacement plan, a facility condition assessment, a property condition assessment, or a reserve study, the report you receive will have these three key results. The initial creation of the component list requires a diligent physical site inspection, while the remaining two results are based on calculations. The first key result is the component list unique to each property. Because no two properties are ever exactly the same in terms of physical assets, physical condition, and upkeep, no two component lists will ever contain identical information. Although it's important to evaluate all the major physical components associated with the facility, wisely selecting which building components to include on the component list for reserve funding relies on a four-part test. Is the component a client maintenance responsibility? Does the component have a limited useful life? Does the component have a predictable remaining useful life? And finally, is the scope of the repair and replacement cost above the minimum threshold cost of significance? Each line item on the component list is documented in these ways, with a brief description, an estimate of the useful life measured in years, an estimate of the remaining useful life, also measured in years, and an estimate of the current replacement cost, measured in dollars. A typical component list would look like this, where the description and cost information define the scope of the repair and replacement project. In this example, you can see that sealing the asphalt at a cost of $8,000 is a significantly smaller scope of work than resurfacing the asphalt at a cost of $150,000. The useful life and remaining useful life information together is what defines the schedule of the repair and replacement projects. In this example, the asphalt will need to be both resurfaced and sealed in 2 years. But after that, the asphalt sealing occurs on a 5-year cycle, while the larger resurfacing project is not expected for another 20 years. The second key result of every reserve study is a calculation of reserve fund strength. It's a fact of life that buildings are always in a slow, steady, and predictable process of physical deterioration. Whether you know it or not, every major component will eventually reach the end of its useful life and will need to be repaired or replaced. If your organization is already in the habit of setting aside funds for future upkeep, that's great. But it's important to get an independent measure of exactly how well those funds have kept pace with actual and ongoing deterioration. If your organization has never addressed this issue, it's vitally important for you to discover the truth about where things stand or find out how far your property may have fallen behind. Reserve fund strength is a simple calculation that measures your preparedness. It's easy to figure out the numerator in this equation. It's the amount of funds, if any, that have already been set aside. The denominator requires a calculation to determine the fractional deterioration of each and every component, summed together and translated into a monetary value. 100% funded is ideal. That simply means the amount in your reserve fund is equal to the dollar value of deterioration. Properties with reserve funding at the 70% funded level or above generally have the funds to make repair and replacements in a timely manner. But most organizations, perhaps yours, have not set aside funds at a rate that's kept pace with ongoing deterioration. Operating on a reactive basis, such underfunded properties face significant physical and financial challenges. In addition to revealing the accuracy of a property's reserve fund, the measure of reserve fund strength also predicts the risk of not having enough money when needed. The third and final key result of every study is the funding plan itself. Remember, this is another calculation that is based entirely on the property's component list and reserve fund strength. In creating the funding plan for a property, we follow these four guiding principles: setting aside sufficient funds, setting the funds aside at a stable rate, fairly distributing contributions over all responsible parties, and establishing a financially responsible approach. There's a comfortable margin of reserve contributions that fall into the category of just right for each property. This means an organization is responsibly offsetting the property's own unique rate of ongoing deterioration. The ideal scenario would be to have reserve funds accumulate steadily over time at the same rate as the dollar value of each year's physical deterioration. But since most properties are underfunded, stable contributions starting now may not accumulate fast enough to fully prepare for the cost of near-term repair and replacement projects. So it's likely that the funding plan may need an additional funding source, like a special assessment, loan, cash call, fundraiser, or capital campaign in order to catch up enough to prepare for the near-term major expense. Regardless, it's better to know now and maximize the time you have to prepare rather than ignore reality and be caught off guard in a few years. We believe that all the parties with a stake in the long-term physical and financial health of the property stand to benefit from knowing in advance what to expect and being financially prepared to afford it. No one likes avoidable surprises. No one benefits from deferred maintenance. No one likes being associated with a property in disrepair. And everyone loves saving money. Property management and maintenance staff, in particular, benefit when major repair and replacement projects are anticipated and scheduled at opportune times. No one wins when an air conditioning system fails in the heat of summer or a boiler needs to be replaced in the dead of winter. Having the funding in place to execute the project when needed avoids the time-consuming, expensive repairs that are required when you attempt to make something last longer than its intended useful life. And finally, everyone involved with the property's practical use benefits, be they homeowners, guests at a vacation ownership resort, government employees, congregations, students of all ages, retreat visitors, or private club members. Everyone enjoys the peace of mind that comes from attractive, clean, safe, and properly maintained facilities. I hope you've discovered how planning ahead with a reserve study can point you and your property towards a better future. To learn more, contact a reserve specialist in your area. Thank you.
Okay, so that gives you an overview of what reserves are. Just a little bit of rules. The Florida statutes 303.6 says an association is deemed to have provided for reserve accounts upon the affirmative approval of a majority of the total voting interests of that association. Such approval may be obtained by vote of the members at a duly called meeting of the membership or by the written consent of a majority of the total voting interest in the association. Our majority is 485 yeses that we have to have. That would be what is required for our community to pass this reserve. So he explained a little bit, what is a reserve fund? A financial safety net for major predictable repairs, covers roads, clubhouse, major infrastructure, minimizes the needs for special assessment. So what does that all mean for us? The developer chose to do the buyout instead of leave us reserve.
Yeah.
His choice, done and over with. Article 6.2 in our governing docs state a reasonable annual reserve for anticipated major capital repairs, maintenance, and improvements and capital replacement in such an amount, if any, as the board may deem appropriate. So we have fallen behind on getting a reserve in. We are going to have to play catch up for a couple of years, but it's doable. We're not dire yet. But as you know, with the pool, if we would have had started a reserve 2 years ago, we may have had at least the majority of the funds to get that replaced and get it fixed. We wouldn't have had to go through what we're going through now. What is a reserve? It's basically a savings account established to fund anticipated major repair, maintenance, and improvement. I don't know about you guys, but when we lived up north in the Midwest, I put money away every month or every year, tax money or whatever it was, for furnace replacement because I didn't want to do it in January when it was 20 below. I wanted to do it and try and anticipate it and maybe beat it. We had a furnace that was 40 years old. I didn't want to do another winter with it. So, but I had the funds there because I put it away. We had the funds for a roof because we put it away. Was it difficult at times to do that? Sure, especially when you're just starting out. We're just starting out as a resident-run board. But you need to do it so you don't have to go to the bank and say, I need a loan and get charged interest and break out your credit cards and max them out, you know? So membership, because I'm going to say membership a lot, membership is the owner of the lot. Okay, no one else is eligible to vote. So if there's only one member in your household that is on that deed, they're the only ones that can vote. Okay, so what kind of reserve are there? There's two. Non-statutory and statutory. The two in the non-statutory are pooled, a sum of money put in a reserve fund, to be used for whatever the board sees fit. In other words, a designated sum of money for the board to use at their will for whatever they choose. And that's, it's good to have, but you have to be able to trust your board to use it wisely as well. And you don't get a vote in that. That's one of those. A line item, non-statutory, is a little more specific, and it can only be used for the specific items mentioned as for actual, items listed. So it's only going to be spent for that, whatever it is. Can the board quit funding it, revoke it, close it? Absolutely. Any board can do that. Then you don't have a reserve. So the advantage is it's no membership vote, which we have seen to try and get 51% is monumental in this community. So if you have a hard time getting a majority of this could be used. The board has at its discretion to add either of these to the budget in the dollar amount they so choose. The disadvantage is any further board may decide to stop funding and deplete the reserve. So you may have voted it in one year and think, hey, we're doing well. And then if the board changes over and they want to reinvent the wheel and say, we don't need it, we'll just do special assessments, they can. So membership has no control of where the funds are spent, stop funding, or increase funding. The board can do any of these at will. A statutory reserve, which there's two different kinds of statutory reserves. They must have a membership vote. And like I said before, ours is a 485 majority, 51%. It's actually 484.5, but I don't know where we're going to get that half person. So a study with a 30-year plan is established. So y'all get to read it. Y'all get to know why we need it. You can do a 5-year review to the study. Any updates, deletions, increases or decreases to contributions must be voted on by the membership. As with the original reserve, it must pass with the majority vote. So if at the 5-year mark, we want to do an updated study and we find out that, we go to the membership and we want to do an updated study and we don't get 51%, then we stay with our study that we had. If the financing of it, we recalculated and decided we need more than what we've been collecting, unless you guys voted in, it doesn't happen. Hopefully there'll be enough justification for each one of those decisions made and enough information sent to you to let you know that it's necessary. If not, it goes for another 5 years. So it would ensure our community wouldn't be maintained to a standard that we were given when we bought. We all came into this and it was beautiful. It was gorgeous. And we've had some hurdles, but you got to remember we are only in our 3rd year of a resident owned board. We had a developer that, for lack of a better word, he used to foot the bill on a lot of stuff and charge us less with some stuff. It's a plan for major expenditures that we know the life expectancy of certain components, so we can plan ahead. In the study, it says our roofs will last 50 years. We can plan for that. It says our AC, our HVAC will maybe 15 years. It plans for that. The pooled statutory reserve is a little more flexible in that we collect money, we put it into an account, and we pull it out as we need it for the expenditures that are listed. But you don't put an actual dollar amount because of the way prices change, the way inflation is, and all of that. It's better if you just say we're collecting this, and when this comes up on our line, then we can pool that money. Hopefully, you take that money that you put in a statutory reserve, which has to be away from your O&M operating budget, in a different account, and you put it in an MMA. So besides having it grow and create interest, hopefully it keeps our contributions lower by doing that. So let's make our money work for us. Yes, we will have to pay taxes on it, but we can budget for that, and we still would come out ahead with that. And then we would be contributing to that reserve without actually increasing funds for that reserve. The money would be put in that separate account. It cannot be commingled. You will always know how much we have in the reserve. The board cannot use the funds for anything other than what is in the reserve. So on the ballot, it shows you exactly what the reserve would be used for. It cannot be used for a pink flamingo party at the pool because they're not on the list. I tried, believe me. So it's for only that stuff. So no matter who gets in or how things go, this is your reserve. If we vote this in, it is your reserve at least for the next 5 years. And going forward, it can stay your reserve. It just depends on if we need to increase, change, add something to the reserve. It'll all be a committee, reserve committee, to evaluate and to look at again. We may not have to do anything. We may be able to stay where we're at. So it's not always that it's going to change. So you have, as membership, more control over the money. And that is really important because we all like to know where our money's going and how our money's being used. And this is a good way to do it with the statutory. It would minimize the use of special assessments. I'm not going to say it would eliminate them because you never know. I'm not going to make that promise, but it would definitely minimize the use. The only thing a reserve, statutory, non-statutory, well, non-statutory you could, but statutory reserve could not be used when we have cleanup in the event of a storm. If the item is in the reserve and it's damaged, like let's say the palm trees fell on our roof of our community clubhouse, then we could push that closer to the repair. But we can also push that money to use it for the deductible on the insurance and have the insurance pay for the repair. You got to learn to work with your money. You got to learn to use it. But anyway, so it wouldn't be used for landscape cleanup or road clean. That's a whole different ballgame. That's not reserve stuff. So it cannot be used for that kind of stuff. Okay? Huh? That's a damn yes. Okay. Yes, I did. So now I'm going to give it to Dennis as the chair, and he's going to explain the 30-year plan.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
You can. You can? So Diane threw it a lot at you, and just to be clear, we are trying to get a pooled statutory reserve. And if we do that, then Florida law says we can only use those funds for the things that are identified as part of the reserve. And we'll see some more of that in a few minutes. So really what I wanted to do is let everybody know what we did to come up with all this information, okay? Like Diane said, we started with that reserve study that reserve advisors did for us in 2023. And we looked at every line item in that study. Some of the things we moved from the reserve to the operating budget. Some of them we revised some dates and schedules based on things that we've already worked on or already have plans to work on. We revised some of the funding based on some real world pricing that we've received. So we took all of that information and we tweaked that 2023 study. And when we did that, we turned all that over to Sue, and then Sue took the financials from the 2023 study, which was a really big spreadsheet. I mean, it was a complicated spreadsheet. She worked with reserve advisors to figure out how to make changes, and she tweaked it to come up with the financials that we're going to see. And I want to mention the fact we've got a really good committee. We had Bill Ambrose, Tony O'Day, Jeff Munsing, and Erwin Block, and myself. All of us have either an engineering, construction, or project management background. So, I mean, everybody was very organized and things flowed really well. I feel good about what we put together. I feel really good about what Sue did with the financials. I think that's all. Well, let's see. Go to the next slide, Sue. Okay, right here are this is all the reserve items. This is what your funds are in there to pay for. Okay. So that is the only thing, if we pass this statutory reserve, that is the only thing that we can spend these funds on. And like Diane said, if we have a hurricane, it's not a hurricane savings account. So if the hurricane knocks down a bunch of trees, we can't pay for that out of the reserve fund because that's not in there. But if the hurricane damages the clubhouse roof, We can do that because the clubhouse roof is in the reserve. So we can take the funds and shift them around amongst those items right there as needed. Because remember, this is all, it's our best guess of when these things are gonna need to be replaced and how much it's gonna cost. So some are probably gonna come up sooner, some will hopefully last longer. The costs aren't gonna be exact, so we can shift things around among the things you see up there. I think that's all for me. Sue's gonna go through the financials now.
Okay, and you thought I just was playing you a commercial with the tape. Taking the 2023 reserve study and getting all of the macros, allowing for all of the macros was really a feat. And I did get the reserve people to help me out on this. So I know everything is correct. But what I'm going to do is just going to show you a graph. Because if you look at the green bar, all right, the green bar shows the recommended annual reserve contribution that should be collected to cover the expenses, the future expenses. The red bar represents the major reserve expenditures. That's that large repair or replacement costs. The blue tracks the year-end reserve balance over time. So you see that goes up and down depending on what costs come out that year. So by steadily basically following this recommended funding plan, the reserve balance builds and stabilizes, preventing large shortfalls later. All right. So basically, the graph shows that consistent funding early on prevents those deficits and builds a healthy reserve for the community's future needs. To support the reserve, all right, our community needs to set aside $400,000 each year to stay prepared for these future repairs or replacements. Now, you take with 969 homes sharing the cost, it's spread out fairly across all of us. So for each household, that works out to just about $103.25 per quarter, about the cost of a nice dinner out every 3 months. All right, and that is kept in a separate account from any of the operating funds. We can't touch that at all unless it's to pay one of the costs or the reserve. So for about $103 per household each quarter, we can fully fund our reserves and protect the community from unexpected costs. Because what we want is planned maintenance that's anticipated and scheduled at opportune times when we're expecting it, rather than caught with, all of a sudden something breaks and we're scrambling to get the money. If you go back to the graph, you look at that graph, it goes up and down, as Sue said, and then it goes up. But this is all based on, like, if you look, that first deep red line, 2037, that is repaving the roads. That's why it's a big expenditure and the money went down. And that's why we are working on getting it up there. We have smaller expenditures up until that point that we have planned for according to the study. Now they can change. Right now, we're working with the CDD to see if they can do something with the roads, but we have to anticipate that we will be doing something with the roads. Okay. So we have a couple of years where there's not a whole lot, but that's because we're saving for the years that there is something major. And we have to have that. When the money goes up, then we've done the major things, but that's not to say the money is going to go off the charts and be $10 million. Every 5 years, the membership can vote after a re-evaluation is done. If we find that 400 and some odd dollars, at 103 a quarter, is starting to become more than what we need, we can, the committee, I don't want to say we, the committee can recommend that it goes down to $85 a quarter. Or what if we look at our clubhouse and stuff and our windows and we go, it's going to be sooner than what we thought. At that 5-year mark, they can say we need 110 per quarter, but it's justifiable. And there's a reason for it, but that it can fluctuate. So you're not locked in. You're definitely not locked in. And there's definitely reasons for that. And we can cap it out. We are 3 years behind the ball right now. So we feel like we need the 5 years to catch up and get where we should be. Then we can have a better view of what's going on. What are we on? Protects property values. Why it matters? Okay, so why this matters is protects your property values. We have canvassed many communities in and around Sarasota County, and they want to know, why the heck don't you guys have a reserve? What is going on? We have realtors that say they don't recommend going into a community without a reserve, not specifically Toscana, but without a reserve, you know you're going to get charged special assessments. So if we can get this reserve in, I think it helps. And it does prevent surprise special assessments. It maintains the quality of the community's assets. And that's what we want, is our assets to increase, just like you want your house prices to increase. So the risk of doing nothing, we have emergency assessments, deferred maintenance, decline in property value and satisfaction. We have a lot of people that are unhappy. We have a lot of things that aren't being done. Well, the board is working on doing a maintenance schedule with things, not a if it's broke, fix it attitude. We're doing quarterly maintenance on our HVAC. We've got a twice a year check on our clubhouse roof. We're getting into that, being proactive instead of reactive. So hopefully it's helping. It's helping with us. Your ballot and packet will be mailed this week. And what the ballot says, what we need in here, the ballot has what Sue had up on there, what is covered. You need to return this ballot, and the parts that are highlighted in yellow are what you need to fill out, which your address, a yes or no, the date and the month, and the signature of the lot owner, and print their name. You can scan this, send it by email. You can take a picture of it and send it in to Toscana Manager, as long as it's printable and legible. This is not like voting for directors. It's not a secret ballot. Or you can mail it in. We're going to include an envelope. Sorry, not going to include the stamp because it's too much money. We're going to include we'll include that, but it's much easier just to, okay, I got this, bam, 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 however you want to do it, scan it, take a picture, send it in to us. We need 485 votes for yes to pass it, but we need 51% to even have a chance to do that. So I'm going to open it up for Q&A. If you have ballots, will also be at the clubhouse. If you have questions about filling out your ballot, please come down to the clubhouse. We will have sample ballots. We will be reconvening. This is just a hometown. This is not a official meeting. We will be having our official vote count meeting in October, which is about 60 days. What is it? October 14th. That's what I thought, but I didn't want to. October 14th at 6 o'clock, we will have a ballot count. And we'll see where we're at. We can pull this out 90 days if we have to. And I feel like this is a good, let's stretch it so we can get as many votes as we can. So we will know who hasn't voted, who we can say, please vote. And we can send out emails to those that haven't voted yet. Maybe they forgot, maybe they put it in their pile of mail and, oh yeah, I need to get that back or whatever. But we can stretch this out. We have 90 days to collect the votes. And hopefully by October 14th, we will have that 485 yes votes. And it'll be done. We won't have to worry about it. But we can adjourn and reconvene if we have to. So this is just really near and dear to my heart. I've been trying, third time's the charm, I'm hoping. First 2 times were learning experiences. And I think this committee has it right. And you all know what's going on now. So we need to get this passed so you don't have, let's say something happens in the clubhouse and we come back and the board that's there at the time says, guess what? We're having a $10,000 assessment because we need to replace the clubhouse or something like that to that effect. I can't do that. I don't want to do that. Let's put it that way. I would rather pay quarterly towards something. So I'm going to open it up for Q&A for any of us. You'll have to come up here and use the microphone so the Zoom people can hear the questions and we can do the answers for them. Huh? No, we have to. It's right here. So if you guys want to.
Do have one question off of Zoom if you want to answer that first?
Yeah.
Somebody on Zoom has asked, the definition of reserve included predictable repairs. We thought predictable repairs were paid out of regular dues and reserve was for emergency repairs. Please clarify.
It's my understanding the difference is anything predictable repairs under $10,000 goes in the operating budget. If it's over 10,000, then we put it in the reserve.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Yeah. Leo 636 Ravello. First of all, hi everybody. Thank you very much for all the work was done. Absolutely agree with Diana. It was absolutely great delivery and information. Not even start to comparing to last year. A couple questions. When are we gonna have like monthly or quarterly reports on like being sent to us like by e-blast or something on the conditions of the reserve fund, so everybody can see how it grows, what's going on? Yeah, so we can have a conversation.
It's like the bank account, so it'll be in the treasurer's report as to where we're at and interest due.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Okay.
The other thing, when we take money off the reserve for, let's say, clubhouse repair, will we have, I don't know, maybe in this case, weekly or bi-weekly report of progress, how much money spent on what specifically, what's the progress, and so on and so forth?
It'll be a monthly at the HOA meeting.
Okay, thank you.
For questions?
Sorry, my phone's being a camera.
Oh. Can you do that? All right, we're gonna leave your remarks to 3 minutes, just like we do for everything else.
I just have two questions. Earlier, you said one homeowner gets one vote. I want to make sure it's clear that it.
What? Hold her closer. It's one
Can
line.
you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to make it clear that it's one vote per household, no matter how many people
One
are on.
vote per door.
Okay. And then the second question I know people are going to ask is, do both homeowners need to sign that ballot? Or can one homeowner sign for the two of you? Okay, that's all I need to know.
As long as the person that signs it is on the deed, if there's somebody else, it doesn't matter, but as long as one person that's on the deed signs it, we're good, correct?
Yeah, but I would say this, because we would like to make sure that everything's perfect with the vote count and everything. So if a husband and wife are on the deed, it would be beneficial if both of them signed. There are two lines on the ballot / proxy. It's also a proxy so that we can actually hold a meeting. So yes, if husband and wife are on it, it'd be better if you could both sign it. I mean, it doesn't mean that it's not gonna count, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've been saying all along, I'm gonna shut every door down the hallway, so the only one open is the reserve. So yes, if there are multiple people on the deed, multiple people can. You don't have to, but you can, and you know, don't get in an argument with your significant other that's on the deed because of that. Any other questions? Name and address for Queen.
My name is Dr. Alba, 124 Maravilla Boulevard. So I think this is great. I am in support of it. But I would like to see in regards to which you brought up, Diane, which is a good point. Maybe we can lower the deductible. Well, this is lowering the deductible, one of the line items up there, which we can consider if we spend more money on insurance, lower the deductible. So if we have a catastrophic accident, it's going to take less money out of the reserve fund. So that would be a consideration I think we should look into. I don't know if that was one of the line items up there, but that might be one of the considerations. Also, for these large items, can we have an RFP? That's a request for proposal. That means if we have a large expense, can we get a couple of bids from these different individuals to make sure that everyone's on the up and up? Not that we don't trust you, but in this day and age where people are putting their hard-earned money into a reserve fund, we want to make sure we're getting the best bang for the buck. Obviously, we want to get reputable companies, but we also want to make sure that it goes out for bid so we can do a comparison. Thank you very much.
Yes, we can look into the insurance factor. That is not on the reserve itself. So that's something that we negotiate with the insurance companies, our deductible, and the reason we negotiate because of the cost of the insurance. And that's what Sue is looking at. The RFP is good in most instances, but the reason we are making maintenance contracts with companies is so we build that trust. And we get that, like the Southwest roofing, is it? Southwest roofing? Southeast roofing. Because it's southeast most too. Anyway, we signed a 5-year maintenance agreement with them. I got them to agree to the same price for those 5 years. So I'm going to give them preferential treatment if we have damage, because they're the ones that have been maintaining our roof. They're the ones that know what's going on with it. If we feel that they're too high, sure, we can go out for other ones. But the point being with our roofing company and our HVAC company, we're building that trust. We're building that that they're not going to rip us off. Policy with them.
Theodore, so 292 Villa Rosa Boulevard. I totally agree with having a reserve. I lived in a community that did not have well, we had a reserve, but we also had, the special assessments on top of it. Nightmare. So a reserve is definitely needed. My only thing is, but it's all in the study. Okay, so I'll need to list.
You're not just going to be collecting money. This next year, I will have to say we don't have anything major on the reserve, but you're going to be collecting, and then all of a sudden, oh, we've got this on for repair. So it's going to be going down, it's a moving number up, and then if we have a repair, back up, we have a repair, back up. And so it's just a constant, like when you pay your mortgage, right? You put money away every week for your mortgage, end of the month, that money goes away.
And I'm not saying that 103 is a
Yeah.
deal breaker for no means, but it's also going to collect interest because it is in a money market account.
Right.
So was that taken into consideration as well, of how much it's going to grow over time?
What the whole thing about putting it in an MMA is, the thought is not to have to raise membership costs. So if we, in 5 years, do a reevaluation, they do a reevaluation, and we're making good interest. I mean, we can't control the interest of that. We're making good interest. Then we can say, we can hold it. But since Ian, you guys know the cost of things and how they've skyrocketed. Hopefully this interest will balance it out so we can stay at the 103.50 for maybe 10 years. I don't know. I'm not guaranteeing anything, but my hope is that we could stay at 103.25 or whatever it is for as long as we possibly can without having to raise it. And that was, the interest would offset that.
Hey guys, I can't fit everything on a slide, but there's going to be a spreadsheet that goes out like we had the first time with the reserve, and it lists all of the components, all of the useful years, and when to do everything, and then when to actually repair or replace it. And I just made a huge spreadsheet. And although we don't have any expenditures listed for 2026, these are the things that are going to be for 2027. Okay, these are the things that are going to be coming up. So, and then we've got some big expenses coming, all those dips. All right. Yeah.
If you look at
Like 2037.
if you look at the reserve study, it will tell you the life and the expectancy of when it needs to be repaired.
But all of this it's all taken care of. And they look at, I think it's 3.5% inflation and 2%. No, I can't remember exactly, but on the spreadsheet, it has all of that you guys will have to look at. Okay, just slide. But there's a lot of big things. We're never going to have like a huge amount. We're just building up for the big guns that are coming. All right.
If we do it every 5 years, right? No, when it continues every 5 years, then it's going to be.
We are getting a health check.
Yes.
Every 5 years to make sure that, all right, take note of what's deteriorating faster, what's deteriorating slower. Okay.
Everything ages over time. But so my other thing would be, as far as the vendors are concerned, I believe that it's a benefit to the community to get 3 bids. It looks favorable on you, right? And the community appreciates that. But the other thing is, if we get locked into a contract, can we get out of that contract if they are not doing the thing? Because we've seen this before.
Yep, I made sure that we had either a 30 or 60 day out on any contract that we had. So. Any other questions?
Hi, I'm Cindy Frantino from 692 Marvia. I was in a community and I became on the board after a board that wasn't really doing a good job. You brought up about a roof. Okay, there were certain things that were done. There were no bids. The manager was the one that said, and who was gonna get the job. They knew someone, this and that. So it became a thing where everyone was involved and we got 3 bids. So something where there was an assessment that was $200,000 for certain things came down to 90,000 on it. The roof was done. If a roof is done, they usually have a contract where there's a warranty. And they come out every so often and they look at it and they repair it if it needs to be repaired for nothing, because there's a warranty. So everything's great, but I really think that everyone has a say and there should be bids, not someone just deciding we're gonna go with one company to feel comfortable with them that they're gonna do a good job.
And that's, I'm not saying that we won't get bids, but like with the roofing company, for example, because we've only gotten 2 so far, the HVAC system and the roofing company. They are on contract to come out quarterly and look at our roof. Check it for cracks, check it for stuff, check it for leaks, because we had some leaks we didn't know we had. And they are the ones that have guaranteed us that if we have a hurricane, we're going to be one of the first on the list, because we already have roofing tiles and felt and things like that in-house for us, and we're kind of good to get that done. But I'm not saying that that's in our contract for them to come out and to check this stuff and to stay ahead of the game, instead of having it leak and then say we have, okay, now you got to fix that, and then you got to fix the ceiling, and then you got to. So I'm not saying we won't, but I think it's a good idea to be proactive and have maintenance done. You get your AC unit checked quarterly, I hope, once a year. I mean, my husband blows ours up, puts vinegar down it once a year. That's a maintenance thing. Once a month.
Can I say something?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say what Diane's describing here, these are maintenance contracts. This is not a capital improvement or anything like that. So because the developer controlled our board for so long until a couple of years ago, there was basically 0 maintenance done. So we've got all these things out here that have never had any maintenance done on them. The board has put some maintenance contracts in effect, which will help us. But I agree with you, and I think what we would see, if we had to re-roof the whole clubhouse, there's going to be bids for that. But that's different than a maintenance contract, which is what she's describing now.
Correct. Any other?
Dennis Klubard, 217 Benadio. I understand, and I think you guys have done a great job with the analysis. I think it's a good idea. One thing, our development currently has a number of households who aren't paying their HOA dues, delinquent, I'll call it. The math here assumes we have 100% paying this. Should we not put in some type of delinquency factor, knowing that it's going to happen, to get to the 400,000?
I have to check on it because I don't know if we could do that or not. I know we can do it with dues, but Matt knows.
Generally what happens do you guys budget for bad debt in the budget? So that's where it comes out of. So if you budget in for bad debt, you're still going to make the contribution that you decided you're going to make, whether it's short or not from anybody, because you got it in the budget for that bad debt. So that's not going to affect your formulas for the reserves.
And if you go into collections, just so you know, you're going to pay the lawyer fees, you're going to pay the interest, and you're going to pay your back, whatever it is. So it would behoove you to pay on time. I don't want to pay anybody. I think lawyers get paid or an amount anyway. Huh? We can do an estoppel, we can do a lien. There's all sorts of things. So, just stay in good standing. We all know you want to, and you all are good people. So I'm the Pollyanna, please make my dream come true and pay your bills.
Thank you, Diane. Mary O'Keefe Reagan, I'm at 224 Moravia, and I'm looking at you people here. There's maybe 100, close to 100 people here, but it might be with your spouse, with your friend that also has, so there might only be 40 or 60 doors that are here to vote. We're in trouble if we don't get other people that agree to have what we're doing right now, the reserve. We're going to be in a lot of trouble. So can I ask you to go out to your neighbors, your friends in the neighborhood and tell them what a reserve is for and ask them to vote for that. So if we have to get 485 votes, that's a lot, because we've been very tight. Even when the developer was here and we voted on things, well, they owned a lot of the land. So that really helped us to get someone to say yes. I mean, they brought us over so that a lot of things that we wanted to get, because I was on some of the committees, we got it only because the developer and the builder voted yes. So we need the people that live here to say, yes, we need it, and they have to vote. I'm just begging for that. Thank you.
Ann Aykroyd, 303 Tuscavilla Boulevard. I'd like to know if there is a charter in existence and if we are bonded for these reserve funds.
Yeah, we don't have any reserve funds right now. Yeah, and then maybe we will. Do we need a charter?
What now?
Huh?
I didn't catch that.
Do we need a charter and are we bonded for the reserve? I don't think we need.
The
statute allows you
I
to have them.
don't really understand the question. Yeah, because that's a fund you start, you have the vote, it's structured. I'm sorry, I don't understand that question. I mean, that you start the fund, you have the fund, it's by the vote. You have it done and set up with all the components, and then you just run the fund. If you're worried about theft of the money, that's going to fall under your insurance policy, because then we tell the insurance agent, we know a reserve fund worth another $400,000. So we need to up our crime policy. So if that's what you mean by bonded, yes, it's through insurance. So whenever you have a significant increase in your assets and your bank accounts and all that. In fact, by the way, I might have forgotten to tell you, we're upping the crime policy a little bit because of the money. So that's what we do. It's a negligible increase in the premium. So, but that's where it's covered. But as far as the charter, no, I mean that your vote is set. You're in a corporation, and you've gone through the vote and you set it up according to statute. So
We can do a charter if you guys would feel more comfortable. It says a charter for reserve fund outlines the purpose, structure, and rules governing the fund, which basically is a statutory reserve does that already, but we can do it. It acts as a foundational document specifying how the fund is created, managed, and used, ensuring transparency, accountability in its operations. So that our statutory reserve is basically our charter. We put all this to our legal team last week, and she never said we had to have a charter. So we to help us get it passed, because it only benefits everybody. And that's why I wanted this committee to do it, because this is not a board-run reserve. This is a resident-run reserve. Okay?
Diane? Hey, I would just encourage everyone, like Mary was saying earlier, don't wait 2 weeks. Talk to your neighbors. If you're in favor of this, try to talk to all your friends and neighbors and see if we can't get them to vote as well. 485 is not going to be easy.
Maybe a good opportunity for your block leaders to step up.
The zone leaders, they can go around the chatter on Facebook. I know we can't, as a board, we're not supposed to be on there, but man, sometimes. But put it on Facebook, you know, that why you feel it's the need for the reserve, what your opinions are, or could you please, if you're unsure, go to the office, talk to a board member, talk to somebody and find out why. That's the reason that we do it. So anybody else?
You have a form we can sign out for.
No,
No,
we don't want to do that.
no, we want to do that right now. They will be in the mail, but there also will be some
At the office.
at the office that you can do.
When can we go to the office?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, you can do that.
Lisa Hart, 132 Marvia. Just a question on the proxy. The proxy is for the quorum versus the vote, correct? Oh, it's for both. So even though they fill it out and they say yes or no, then it still goes back to the person that they gave the proxy to.
The vote. The proxy holder is for the vote.
Okay.
Well, it's a limited proxy, so it's only good for that question. So you fill it out, nobody can take your proxy and vote the opposite way. You've already indicated how you voted.
I would, like, you could fill this out and you could say yes, but leave me as your proxy, so I count as you being there. Correct. But I cannot change your votes.
Basically, it's for quorum. They cannot. There is.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing. Yes, we are having a meeting October 14th to count these, but please fill these out and get them back in so we know where we're at. Some people just think, well, I'm going to be at the meeting, so I'll just vote there. We would like to know going into the meeting that we got it. So whether you intend on showing up or not, please fill it out, please get it back to us, and so we can kind of keep account. So when October 14th hits, we know where we're at.
Okay, we actually can anticipate this a little bit. In September, we have our regular HOA meeting, and we can put it on the agenda of our count.
Yeah.
Where we're at. So that's in a few weeks, 4 weeks, because we have Thursday's meeting. So that.
So, question again, somebody had asked, will the money be FDIC insured? We will make sure that it is put into account. Right now, your operating fund is with a bank and they have what's called a sweep account. So it sweeps anything over a certain amount so that your money is protected and FDIC insured. Same thing will happen with the reserves. So in the past, with my experience, what we've done is we end up getting a few CDs for stuff far out and hopefully a decent return. We keep some in a money market that's liquid in case something breaks down and we have to fix it right away. But yeah, and that's what we're allowed to do: CDs and really the money market. So we'll spread it around to make sure that we don't have more than 250,000 in any one place, and so if something happens, we're covered.
Bill Rimzo, 248 Boulder Receipt. To that point, the bank we're dealing with has something called a Cedars program. How that works is you put money in one account at that bank, they take care of the FDIC insurance. So what happens is you might have 2 million in there, but they'll, in their back office, they know they put 250 over at bank A, 250 over at bank C, 250 over at bank D, all earning interest, liquid money market. You spend 2 million, they gather it and give it to you, but it's FDIC insured through that program.
Any other questions related to the reserve?
Oh, let's go.
Who's in favor of this? All right. Who thinks that we need to have another meeting or gathering at the clubhouse to explain to some of the other people?
Do we need to have more hometowns?
No, bring wine.
I have that on there, but, I'm thinking, do we need, maybe in 2 weeks on a Sunday night or something, have a hometown that says, if you did not attend the reserve meeting at the Elks and you would like to know about the reserve and why we would like to put a reserve in place, please join us.
One.
There, we'll use the same commercial that we did tonight. We'll do that.
Was the apple cider vinegar?
Yes. We're gonna have ballots at the desk. We're gonna have ballots mailed out. From now on, we will have the availability of ballots. They will be at the meeting Thursday. Anytime, if you guys know your neighbors well enough and want to go to your neighbors, or the zone leaders want to grab some, go to their neighbors. That type of thing.
Closer.
I'm sorry.
No, yeah. I think it popped out.
This one, there we go. There's just, huh? Anyway, any way you can help, I know we see our neighbors who go, hey, how you doing? Now we can go, hey, did you vote? Do something like that. We need to get around, we need to get the point across, we need the votes. Because we are bound by our governing docs, thank you, Mr. Peshkin, until 2045, 2040, something longer than what I'm gonna use. Anyway, we are bound by those to have that 51%. So, let's try and get that. Yes. Okay, it's happening before it's right. We're mailing them all out to everybody's primary address that they have on their Bantica, which that's how they get their HOA quarterly dues, so they know. And Matt can put it out on a spreadsheet. We can see at 2 weeks, those that didn't vote, we can send out an email and say, hey, you haven't voted, If it comes down to our last 30 days, then we're going to start doing the PBS phone thing. and anybody that, hopefully we won't have to do that, because the chatter I've been hearing, we have enough people that think we need one. It's just it's the votes. But if we have to do that, then we're going to ask for volunteers. We'll give you a list. Hey, have you voted yet? And get together, and we'll have a big margarita party with calling people and doing the PBS thing. So, but yes. You get the signature, you get a margarita with tequila. Don't get the signature, no tequila. But anyway, if you guys, the ones that want it, can help the committee, because it's not a big committee. If you can help get the word out, if you can help with the ballots, if you can help any way you can, it would be so greatly appreciated. Okay. If there's no more questions, thank you all for attending. It's a word up.
Thank you, Zoom people. Sorry about the connection, but I think you got most of the information. No, we got them. So thanks everybody for attending. This is recorded, so try to put up the link. This is supposed to be recorded. So thank you.
How many did we have on Zoom?
We had 50 at one point, but I kept dropping.